Hi, welcome to Round Robin. I'm Celine Guerrero with the City of Hampton, and with us today we have Healthy Family Consultant Alvean Lyons, and joining her today is the Commonwealth Attorney Anton Bell. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, today we are talking about stronger families.
Yes, indeed.
And safer communities.
Yes.
So tell me more about this, Alvean. We'll start with you. How do these two
Come together?
come together? Yes.
Okay, so for us, Anton and I work very closely together on a regular basis because what we really are hoping to do is to kind of work him out of a job. He does the prosecuting end when things go wrong. And our goal, certainly at the Healthy Families end of this, is really about what can we do to prevent us even to get to the point where he has to be involved in the process. What can parents do? You know, when we're talking about a community, a community is just a group of families. That's all it really is. So if we want to break the community down to the thing that's fundamental to its strength, it is what's happening in each of those individual families. So we really thought that it made so much sense for us to work together to try to heal the areas that need help. I mean, Hampton is a fabulous place to live. Don't get us wrong at all. But everybody wants to make sure that we're always growing as a community, that we're always increasing the success, the happiness, the wholeness of the families inside of the community, which sometimes means we've got to address the things that aren't going the way that we need to. And unfortunately, he's the one who sees that all the time. So we're really focusing on the fact that if we start with the families, if we start having conversations with the families, if we start educating and supporting the families in the ways that they need to be, so they can ask the questions that they need to ask, we can answer them in the ways that they need answered, that we can empower them to be able to take control over what's going on first in their households and then secondarily in the community as a whole. So it made sense as a really great partnership to really support our communities in that way.
Yeah, that's great. And how can families help that, make their families stronger? What kind of tips would you have? I have 2 kids. They're young still. They're not getting in trouble yet. But
And hopefully they never will.
I don't know about my 3-year-old. but you know, what can parents do for their families and in their community?
What's so interesting is that people think that it's some like super duper magic, that healthy and strong families are a byproduct of some kind of perfect chemistry that came together to create this, but it really isn't magic at all. It's really very simple things that in our busy world we have started to forget a little bit. So it's kind of going back to the basics. And as crazy as that sounds, Anton will even speak to that. It's that involvement that makes a huge difference in what happens in your families. So we call them the Power W's. So who, what, where, and when. Parents these days, a lot of times when he sees them, they don't even realize what their kids are getting involved in because they don't know first who their kids are hanging out with. We've got to know who our kids' friends are. We've got to know who their crowd is, what they are getting themselves into. But you're not even going to get to the what if you don't know the who. So for instance, I have a teenage son. And this weekend he decided he wanted to go hang out with his friends at PTC, which I didn't have any problem with, except that I need to know who these kids are.
Exactly.
So before he could leave, I required that everybody's name was texted to me. Everybody's Facebook photo or Instagram photo was sent to me. I promised on my life I will never text them. I will never reach out to them unless it's a safety issue. But if I don't even know who the people are that you're with, how would I identify if somebody said, hey, your son was with this kid? How can I say yes or no, he was or wasn't? If I didn't even know as a parent who I sent my kids out with, do the names sound familiar? Would I know those names? Well, you're only going to know those if you're having conversations with your kids on a regular basis. Who are they eating lunch with? Who are they walking home from school with? Who are they hanging out with after the games? All of those things help us to be informed. And the more informed we are as parents, the more empowered we are. But it does mean that we have to be a little bit naggy and nosy. And there's nothing wrong with that at all. He'll tell you it's necessary.
Very much so.
It is. And as far as like the safer community aspect, what would you say, you know, is the #1 thing that people can do?
You have to be involved. Not just in your home, but outside of your home. We do community conversations, and one of the things that we share with people is we want them to be informed as to the resources that are out there. But also we want you to be involved in your neighborhood and in your community. People who commit crime do not like to go to neighborhoods where people are involved.
Right.
Because they want a likelihood of success of not being caught.
Right.
So when you go to a neighborhood where there are so-called nosy neighbors, which by the way, I love nosy neighbors.
Oh, I love Miss Penny.
Yes, I love them.
her.
Because here's the thing. I want someone who cares enough about what's going on in my life that if someone is at my door and they know I work during the day,
Right.
that they're going to call me or they're going to say something and they're going to alert someone that that's strange or that's out of the norm
Right.
for
Yeah.
that house. And you need that. You need someone who is not just one, but you need a community that cares enough about their neighbors and their neighborhood that they're going to make sure, not on my block, not on my
Right.
street, not in my corner, are you going to come here and you're going to make us vulnerable to crime. So being involved is extremely, highly, very much so the thing that we need to make sure they know they can do.
Definitely. And I think it's really important for us to get to know our neighbors.
Yes.
And, we don't necessarily have to hang out with them, be their friends, but know who they are. And if we have small kids, and if they have kids and they play together, I always feel a lot better if I know the parent's name.
Absolutely.
If I have that parent's phone number, and I can rely on them, they can rely on me. It works both ways. Your dog got loose, I got him.
Right.
Something like that. Your daughter's out, or should she be out? Like, oh yeah, she's fine. And she, bus is running late or something. Oh, I can't make it. But I rely on these neighbors for so much.
Absolutely.
And, and they rely on me. And it's just the small things, just knowing their name and just knowing, going back to who your kids are hanging out with and who the parents are, I think is key.
Absolutely.
So.
Because if you don't know this information, you don't even know what normal is. So when Anton is referencing, the nosy neighbors are fabulous, it's because they're paying attention to what's normal in the
Right.
neighborhood. And when something is askew, they're the ones who recognize this is not the normal pattern. There's not normally this car parked in front of her house this time of night or in the middle of the day when she's not around or when he's not around. This seems a little peculiar. Oh, there are a group of strange men that are hanging out. Whatever it is, the neighbors who are constantly sort of looking at the community, paying attention, they're the ones who pick up the unusual. And it's generally the unusual that may be a bit nefarious. Those are the times generally that something is going wrong. So you want to have people who are doing that outside in your neighborhood or in the community. But as a parent, you want to also be paying attention to the patterns where your kids are concerned.
Absolutely.
What's normal for your kid? If your kid normally walks in the door every day at 4 o'clock, and all of a sudden we're drifting into 4:45 and 5 o'clock, but you don't know where this extra hour is
Right.
disappearing, and then you find out there seem to be some thefts at 7-Eleven or the local neighborhood market, and all of a sudden I can't quite piece where my kid is versus these group
Right.
of kids who are stealing. And while it may be something small, it starts out as candy bars, but those things turn into other things later. You want to know what is going on. And that involvement Anton is referencing is essential both outside and inside. So then we go to the second W. What? What are your kids doing? Do you know what they're doing? Do you know what the plan is when they leave your house? There should be a clear plan. When your kid walks out the door, especially if they're old enough to make independent decisions, they're getting bigger now, you should know that, okay, what's the game plan? What time are you leaving?
Right.
Okay, I see right now that it's 4:30. I want you to check in by 5:30. And it's not a big deal. Just, Mom, I'm alive, I'm fine, didn't get in any trouble.
Exactly.
Just a quick check-in.
Right.
So I know, and if you've changed households, you went to this friend's house and then they're starting
Sounds
dinner
like my
and you
life.
need to
I
go
totally
someplace
get
else.
that, yes.
You've got to, I want to know that we've changed locations.
Right.
Please don't make me put a tracker on you. I need to know where you are.
And that's weekends. My daughter's out playing. All the kids gather in the court.
Right.
And I tell her, if you're going to be riding your bicycle around, she has her little watch. I said, come and check in 30 minutes.
Absolutely.
And she will come and do that. And then, if her friend is over, her mom does the same thing. The little girl goes, oh, it's 5:30. I got to go check in.
Yep.
Or I got to go have dinner. And then they come back or something. Or they just have dinner there. But just knowing. And I think it's such a great habit. And it's not so much that we are nagging, but we love our children.
It's accountability.
Right.
Absolutely.
It's
Exactly.
accountability. And what people do not understand is that if your child does not understand and submit to authority in the home,
Right.
stronger families,
Absolutely.
they're not going to submit to authority in the streets.
Absolutely.
And that prevents a safer community.
Mm-hmm.
They won't submit to authority in the school. They won't submit to authority when they're pulled over by the police. So we have to make sure that they understand authority, can submit to it and obey, and then also they understand accountability. When there are negative behavior traits, then there are going to be consequences for those negative behavior. And if they understand that, then it makes it easier when they transition on their own into the community, because now they understand for every negative behavior that I do, there's going to be a negative
Right.
consequence.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And in addition, for every positive one, there is a reward.
Absolutely.
You know,
Yes.
when we make good decisions, good things generally follow. They may not be immediate. So every time you do something good, you know, don't expect a reward. but let's
it'll
just
come.
say that good things generally follow. You know, it's not a microwave society, so
Right.
it's not good decision, immediate reward. But life is a byproduct. Healthy living, strong families, safer communities are a byproduct of a series of good decisions, small ones, but consistent ones. It's the little things that we're doing on a daily
Yes.
basis that are moving our families and our communities in one direction or another. When we make the nosy neighbor, Miss Penny, as you referenced,
Oh, she's
who's
gonna
just
love me.
lovely.
I love you, Miss Penny.
Which is the best. And we're saying today nosy neighbors are necessary and
Yes.
fabulous.
Yes.
Okay? So we mean it in a very
Oh,
good
and
way.
I can be just as nosy as well.
Oh, it's absolutely fabulous. Just like your kids being a nerd, great thing. They normally run companies later on. Don't
Thank
worry
you.
about it. You know,
Yes.
like it's really okay. Education is a good thing. So it's when you have those little things, those little notices and changes of pattern, changes of attitude where kids are concerned because they're hanging around with different people. All of those little things are indicators that we need to be more conscious of. If we raise those things in our level of consciousness, we will catch them before they become
Right.
problematic.
Right.
And simultaneously, on the good end, when they're doing good things, we can acknowledge those things. You don't want to take for granted that you have a great kid, because not everybody has a great kid. You don't want to take their good decisions for granted. So you need to acknowledge them, not necessarily in material rewards, but letting them know, you know what? Mommy got it right when she had you. You know, like just,
Right, just
little
over-
moments just to
right.
remind you that you don't need to look for affirmation somewhere else.
Right, and just
you
a
get it
simple
right
thank
here.
you even,
Yes.
you know. She
Good
washed
job.
the dishes,
Right,
you
right.
loaded the dishwasher, unloaded it. Thank you so much. Like, you're really helping me out. And if she came back to check in, I always make sure to just thank her. Thank you so much, Sophia, for checking in.
Right, you're
And-
being responsible.
And that, yeah, and you know, you could just tell.
They eat it up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
They do. See, gangs are very popular because they don't receive the love and the
Right.
attention and the affirmation in the home.
Right.
So gangs, all they do is affirm you. They tell you, hey, I'll die for you.
Yep.
They tell you that if you do certain things incorrectly, there are consequences. It's nothing more than a family, but it is a family that's dysfunctional.
That's
Right.
And so if
exactly
they have the functional family already set in place and they're already receiving the affirmation in the home, you won't have need for the gang.
right. Right.
That's true.
Right. And
Let's replace the gangs.
Indeed. With families. And every family is not going to be the traditional anymore. You know, we are blended families, we're military families, we are all we've become something different. We're multicultural
Right.
and generational. You can have grandparents that are raising kids, aunties, we're adopted families. Family is not just, you know, the cleavers anymore like when we were kids. Families are lots of different things. But what is true that Anton's referencing is the fact that when it's a healthy environment, when I know that I belong, that my presence matters, that you value me,
Right.
that you affirm me, that you help to discipline, correct, and guide me, because it's not always about just the great stuff.
That's right.
It's about, do I care enough about you to make sure that when you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing, when you're operating less than your capabilities, am I there to push you and to redirect you also? All of those things make a world of a difference in how strong we are as families, and then, of course, how safe we're going to be as communities.
Definitely. And now you mentioned that you do have community conversations.
We do.
Yes.
We do.
So please tell me more about that, how people can, you know, learn more if they're looking for some kind of guidance and in helping their families be stronger and helping their communities be safer?
Well, I'll start with the first piece, and then Anton will let you know exactly how we
Okay.
get together. But we go out on a regular basis. It was an initiative that came out of the Commonwealth Attorney's Office.
Okay.
So he said that, you know what, I want to work myself out of a job, was what his vision was. And I said, well, that's an incredible vision. I hope you have an income somewhere else. But he was okay with that. He was like, I want to do this. And so when we talked about it, it was, okay, well, people aren't going to just naturally come to you. We're going to have to go where the people are to make that happen. So we started, and his office does an incredible job of making sure that they advertise and communicate with the neighborhood communities. They make sure that they talk to the schools, they talk to the local churches, but just to let them know that we'll come to wherever you are. We don't care whether it's 2 people or 200 people. It doesn't even matter. Every single family and every individual matters, and whatever's on their mind. So we don't go out with a canned presentation, here are the 10 things we're going to talk about. We go out and say, listen, tell me what you're worried about. Tell me what's going on. Tell me what it is that you would like to hear from us. And the entire conversation is community-centered. It's guided completely
That's
by what the
wonderful.
audience
That
wants
it's
to talk
geared
about.
towards them, right.
Absolutely. That we are here to serve you, not the other way around. So they decide what it is that we talk about. And if we don't have the answer, we always ask for contact information. We'll get what you need, and we will make sure that we get that answer back to you or your neighborhood leader, whoever that
Okay.
is, so that they can disseminate that information appropriately, so you don't leave with something missing in what it is that you need from us. So we go to wherever you are to have these conversations. And they're evening conversations. They start at 6:30, and they never want us to leave.
Never. We have part 2, part 3.
Right? They just keep going on. But in terms of how would they get in contact with us, Anton? Will you tell them?
Well, that's easy. Or simply call my office at 728-3059. Again, that number is 728-3059. And what you just need to do is let my assistant know that I'm interested in having a community conversation hosted by the Commonwealth Attorney's Office. And we'll set it up from that point on. We will come to you, like Alvean said, your church, your community group, your school, it doesn't matter. We will come to you, and we call it kitchen conversations.
Oh, I love
They
that.
are very, very transparent and very
Absolutely.
real. We have no false pretense, because
Absolutely.
the purpose behind it is we want to make sure you felt that your need is addressed.
Absolutely.
At the
Right.
end of the day, was your need addressed? And so if we have to be transparent about some things, we're transparent. If we have to be very real about some things
Right.
and bold in some conversation pieces, we are, but that's okay. They're very intimate, and we love it that way.
Absolutely.
That's just wonderful, and it's great that this is happening in our community, and that we are helping make our community better and our families stronger. And I'm just so excited and grateful to you guys. You guys are doing a wonderful
Thank
job.
you.
We
Thank
appreciate
you all.
you so much. Thank you for that today,
Yeah,
Celine.
thank you so much for being here. And thank you for watching. I hope that you do reach out to the Commonwealth Attorney's Office and get involved in these community conversations. Thanks for watching.